Welcome everybody to Beautifully Broken. I am Patricia. Today we are going to talk about my diagnosis with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And if you were listening on the last podcast, I kind of gave the definition of what that was about and some resources of where you could go to find out more information. So I can give those to you again at the end of this episode as well. So let's hop right in to how I was diagnosed, what I went through to get that diagnosis, and then again I'll share some resources with you. So when I was determined to go through this process of finding out if I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, let me tell you, I had no understanding of what it specifically was. Now, I had read it online. I had Googled. I didn't have the book Disjointed that I showed you last time as of yet. So clearly I was just basing it off of how I felt and basing it off of the information that I was presented online, because I didn't have a medical professional at that time that was able to help me. So I went to the Ehlers-Danlos Society and just started researching, what do I do to get this diagnosis? What do I do? What is my first step? And on the website, there's what's called the Baton scale, and the Baton scale will help a physician test you for hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. There's like a checklist of things that you need to go through to fit that diagnosis, but also you need to have genetic testing done to rule out the other subtypes of EDS. And I believe there's 13 different subtypes. Now I'm looking away from you on YouTube. It's because I'm trying to read at the same time, so I apologize. But there are about 13 different subtypes that you can test genetic markers for. So I think my first step then was to print out the Baton scale and make an appointment with my primary care physician. Now, he knew at this time that I was going through the pain. He knew that I had gone to see the orthopedic doctors, that I had seen, a spine doctor, maybe one spine doctor at that time, my neurologist at that time I had seen. And so he was fully aware that I have been in pain and that it was progressively becoming worse. So I printed out the Baton scale form, made an appointment with my primary care physician, and when I met with him, he's very honest and upfront with me, and he did tell me that he's not heard of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome other than that it's a connective tissue disorder. And so he was willing to help do some research and guide me on where I need to go. And when I had showed him the form, he had stated that I would need to have the genetic testing done first before the testing for the hypermobility, because you need to rule out those other types. Some of those other types can be life-threatening. And so I feel like, and I might be speaking out of line for this, but I felt like, because he wasn't aware, you can follow down the steps of the Baton scale, right? But if you're not aware of it, it kind of makes it difficult as a medical provider maybe to say, yes, this is what you have, because I'm not certain that I'm looking for the right thing, maybe, if that makes sense. In all fairness, he didn't know what Ehlers-Danlos was outside of a connective tissue disorder. And so he guided me to a clinic in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And so when I got home, I started doing research again on this doctor, this geneticist, and called to make an appointment. Let me first tell you also, this doctor was not covered by insurance, so everything was going to be paid for out of pocket. So when I called this doctor's office, I was told that there's a 2-year waiting list. And I was not willing to wait the 2 years. I don't know what at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was not going to wait the 2 years. So I, again, went back to the World Wide Web and started doing research on how to get genetic testing done. Not even prior, at the same time that I'm searching for which doctor is best suited for me on the Ehlers-Danlos website. So, I lost my train of thought. That happens a lot. So I found a company called Invitae online and got in touch with, their customer service staff or call center, whatnot, to see what I needed to do to get tested, because I did not need to have a doctor's order. I needed to have one of their genetic counselors order testing for me. So again, this was not covered by insurance. It was not considered a medical necessity, which I don't understand, but it was not covered by insurance. And so I had to pay out of pocket for this genetic testing as well. So I got set up with the genetic counselor. I met with a counselor and I went through all of my history of pain, my childhood history, my family history, and then this counselor determined which testing was best suited for me, which was to run all of the genetic markers for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and also for kidney disease, because that runs in my family as well. And I think one of the main factors that this genetic counselor was looking for me was the fact that aneurysms run very high in my family. So when I said that there were 13 different subtypes of Ehlers-Danlos, one of them is called vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and also cardiac Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I fit into both of those just based on, the history that was in my family. So I went ahead and signed up to get the testing done. And in that process of time, I started so this was December of 2020, I decided which doctor I was going to choose from on the website, and I called and make an appointment. And the soonest that I could get in was April. So that was like a 5-month wait. It wasn't 2 years. But again, this doctor does not take insurance and does not even allow, my insurance doesn't even allow for you to submit it and get reimbursed. Okay, so at this point, I'm not finding any local doctors that are versed in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and those that said they had no idea. So it was pay out of pocket or pay out of pocket, or not find out, no. So I went ahead and made that appointment with the doctor here in Minnesota, that's in Shoreview, and just waited until I could get in. And during that process, like I said, I had ordered this disjointed book. It's on the website of the doctor that I had seen. So I was very curious as to what was in that book that could help me more so than just searching online, because that can be kind of hard and then leads you down a road of, well, I have this and maybe I have that and maybe I have this diagnosis and whatnot. So in January, I got a call from the doctor's office saying that there was an opening the following week and would I like to take that appointment, and of course I did. So this appointment with the doctor, and again, this is a physical exam because there is no genetic testing, as I had said, for hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I know that they're working on it, but there isn't one right now. So it's all based on that Baton scale and then the physical exam and prior or your family history. So I met with this doctor. Again, it was a 5 to 5.5 hour doctor visit. She went through, first went through my family history, same as the genetic counselor did, and went through the Baton scale. And I'm going to direct you to the ellerstanlos.com site if you would like to see that Baton scale, because I'm not going to go through and show, because there's people watching on YouTube that would be able to see it, but there's also people on the podcast that can't see me. So if you're looking for the Baton scale, go on that website and search that up, and you'll be able to see what the physical exam testing is for. So I wanted to I have my printout, which is about 20 pages long, from my doctor when I went through the exam, and I'm trying to find here where the Baton score is. Sorry for the noise there. So when there's a portion of the Baton scale you need to meet for your age group, and I scored a 9 out of 9 for the hypermobiles. So because my genetic testing hadn't come back, and I had the history of, cardiac history and aneurysm history, family history, this doctor that I had seen did not want to make a final determination, which obviously she couldn't because testing results hadn't come back, but put possible vascular or cardiac EDS, and also a possibility of classical EDS. And again, if you want to see all of those different subtypes, you can go to that website. So those were possible diagnosis, waiting for the determination of the genetic testing. And then the final outcome would be hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, because I passed that score. Yay, I passed that test. So it wasn't it wasn't that long afterwards where I got the results back. I met with the genetic counselor that I did not fall into any of the other subtypes, which was good, but also knowing then that I had that hypermobile diagnosis, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis. So contacting the physician to let her know, what the results were, and then she gave me that official diagnosis. And again, with this almost 20-page printout. And I think for me, if I can take a step back, for me in that moment, even prior to finding out what the test results were from the genetic testing, there was a sort of a sense of relief, but also a sense of what now? I mean, what now? I can put a name to my pain and my suffering, and started to go through with the doctor some of the other comorbidities that she felt like I had. And again, it was a relief, but also pretty scary, because when you're told you have a rare disease, it's like, well, what do I do? I personally cannot afford to pay this doctor out of pocket every week to see her, or even once a month to see her. So I used the printout that she gave me, and it has a doctor listed for every type of, sorry about that noise, every type of doctor that you would need to see. So for physical therapy, I was referred to someone in my area. Hand therapy, I've gone through and gotten ring splints. I don't have those on. I should have put those on to show you. I'll have those on next time. Podiatrist, because I also have feet pain, and like I said, I do wear ankle braces, And I mean, there's just a gastrointestinal specialist, which I believe I actually probably need to see. But there's all these doctors, which I truly appreciated that she gave for me. And again, the majority of them are either out of network or they don't take insurance. So, I mean, for yourself, whatever you fall into, it's just a matter of what you can afford and not afford, and what your insurance does and doesn't pay for. I mean, even so, there's a lot of us that have high deductibles, but we're not even going to go into that. So in this packet that I printed out was, an Ehlers-Danlos treatment plan, what I should do, reading the book. But she also felt like I needed to get tested for craniocervical instability because of the neck pain that I've been having and the dizziness and feeling like I'm going to faint. She also wanted me to be tested for, and if you remember, from the very first episode, I talked about Ehlers-Danlos is this umbrella, and underneath there trickles down, I don't know how else to say it, these other comorbidities, and postural orthostatic tachycardia is one of those. Mast cell activation syndrome is one of those. There's a lot of different comorbidities, and I plan to touch base on a lot of those. But for now, the doctor recommended I be seen and possibly treated for if I did in fact have POTS, and testing for mast cell activation, I was told by her and my primary, and it may be different for others depending on who you see, is very difficult to test for. And because of the time frame of where we were at in COVID, that testing for mast cell was put off. But I do display all of the symptoms and reactions, so it's a high probability that I have mast cell activation syndrome. But also then to proceed, like I was saying, to see a cardiologist to be tested for POTS, which again is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which for me is not being able to regulate my body temperature. So I could be sitting in the house and my husband has got his jacket on and he's freezing, where I have just sweat. I'm sweating. My heart rate is very high from sitting to standing. Now, again, I'm just speaking from personal experience with this syndrome. Rapid heart rate, dizziness, vertigo, fainting. And so I made appointments where, I could, and what was covered under insurance. And thank God the cardiologist that is Ehlers-Danlos aware is on this list that I was given from the doctor. So I was pretty happy about that. And then, like I said, physical therapy plays a huge role in people with Ehlers-Danlos, and being able, and I might say that they need to be aware of Ehlers-Danlos because your body could be hurt, if you're seeing someone that isn't aware and of how your body should or shouldn't be moved. So again, I have this list here of what I need to do, what she gave me some little exercises to perform. And then, like I said, just proceeding to go in and see physical therapist, cardiologist. I did see a podiatrist that was within my network, that I didn't have to wait to be network deficiency on, but she also wanted me to start on histamine blockage twice per day. So I take Zyrtec and famotidine twice a day to help with the mast cell activation. And that actually has really helped me. And again, I'll go into each one of these separate comorbidities on other episodes, just giving you kind of a little bit of a breakdown of how I was diagnosed and going into that feeling of, oh my God, what do I do? But again, feeling relieved at the same time. So I keep this printout by my side, by my chair, and I do go through it at least twice a week and looking, you know, for things that I need from that doctor. But then also, again, I'm going to show this book, the Disjointed book that you can get on Amazon, and I mistakenly said that it was $20 or $30, and I believe it's actually $50. So I apologize for that. But before we end, I want to just kind of go through what this book says on what EDS classification is. And it says, what is hypermobile EDS? And at its most basic level, the Ehlers-Danlos syndromes are a collection of heritable connective tissue disorders caused by a group of genetic variants that change how connective tissues behave in the body. And so I know that I had talked before about this, and I believe that I read this from the proclamation from the state of Minnesota. But again, I just wanted to let you know that this information is also in this book. It is not just you know, based on what I had read too from that proclamation. So again, this book is my Ehlers-Danlos Bible, if you will, and if you're able to, I highly recommend going to get it. And again, before we end, I just want to say, look, I've said this probably 3 times, and I'm sorry for repeating it, but Ehlers-Danlos is, I don't even know if I can say, is it really a rare disease, or is it that it's just not recognized? I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't make that determination. But in my mind, if there are so many people, I went 52 years before being diagnosed, how many others are really out there making this not so much a rare disease, but probably best to say untreated? So again, feeling relief, but scared at the same time, because I felt like there was just going to be so much change in my life now that I've officially had this diagnosis. But after, you know, sharing it with my husband, and I didn't really share with my family right away because I just needed to assess myself and figure out what my treatment plan was going to be, and realizing that it's a lot harder to find a treatment plan when you don't have the medical necessities, shall we say, to seek out and to find. So I'm coming at my mark of wanting to end, because I don't ever want to make this too much for each episode, because I want to keep you engaged and I want to keep you looking forward to the next episode. So I'm going to end it here. Again, go for your resources. Go to the Ehlers-Danlos.com. If you're not in Minnesota, go to the resources tab and find a physician or others that can, you know, maybe even just talk to you about what Ehlers-Danlos is. Like I said, I have a chiropractor on there that I see, and I know it's not recommended for people with Ehlers-Danlos to see chiropractors, but this chiropractor has a family member that is also suffering from Ehlers-Danlos, and so she's very much aware of what my body can and cannot have, and she treats a lot of us zebras. So find a medical professional that's in your area and talk to them. Find a physician on one of those lists that you can be treated or tested for. Genetic testing may be different for you in your area. Again, I went to Invitae, and then this book, Disjointed. And how I think I want to end this is just to say that every person has every person with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome may not present to you the same way. I am going to present to you differently than someone else that has it. I have progressed quite drastically over the past 11 months, 12 months, even with chronic pain prior to that for 2 years. And there may be some that do not experience the pain that I go through on a daily basis and all of the other, comorbidities that I have. Everybody is different. We are all unique in our own way. And it's just my hope to be able to share with you my journey in finding a way through a journey that you might be going through, or you're starting through, or you've gone through, and to help shed that light on where I'm at with my situation. So I appreciate you stopping by again and watching and or listening. And again, please reach out. Don't stop and feel like this is the be all end all. You can find help. It is a struggle. I'm not going to lie. For me, it has been a struggle. But again, I'm here and I listen and I see and I watch, and we're not going through this alone, because we are all beautifully broken, even if we have to do it together. Have a great week.